Now tell me about the cyanide. When did you start working on the cyanide?
I started over the cyanide in about the end of 19, in September 1932. Things were getting a bit pretty tight by then, you know. Well, it was tight before that, but before that, well, I was poking around, and this fella come there, even there's a couple of them come there, and they're poking around, and they asking a lot of questions and about this and that and all the rest of it. And I said, "Oh, anyhow, where do you come from?" They said, "Oh, we've got a bit of a cyanide plant over in Tarnagalla over here." "Oh," I said, "have you?" "Yeah." "Oh, well, I heard that these two buckaroos had a plant over there because I had a couple of uncles over there, old fellas, mum's old elder brothers, and they were over there in their old age, and they told me they started the cyanide plant at the old Yorkshire mine, Tarnagalla." I said, "Well, what are you doing here?" And they said, "Oh, someone said there's a few old remains of a few old heaps around here, not been treated." I said, "Oh, so there is little bits of," I said, "but it's slum. It's not sand." I said, "It's slum." And I said, "The only reason it's left there," I said, well, they said, "Oh, there was cyanide there before." I said, "Oh, yeah, there was a big plant there, and there was 10 big vats there." I said, so I showed them where they'd been, and they said, "Oh," so we went around there, and oh, yeah. And I said, "Why?" I said, "Do you reckon you can treat the slum?" "Oh, yes," they said, "we can treat it all right." I said, "But why couldn't they treat it properly?" Well, he said they had too deep of vats. It wouldn't leach. You know, slum would sort of. Anyway, we messed around there, and they said, "Oh, we'll be back," and they come back again a week or so later. And they decided they're going to build a bit of a plant there. And the pairs that they had a bit of iron that's been curved to make vats. They'd get those 8 or 9 foot sheets of iron and curve them around so you make a vat about 20 foot across. I think I told you before, didn't I, about that? So they come across there and we got busy and they riveted them together and they riveted them together and they soldered them and we got them sitting down on the ground there and dead level and all the rest of it. Then we started digging the sump. That sump that I'm talking about. We started digging that straight away. I was digging that while they were doing their vats. And anyhow, we kept at it, got the vats all going, and then we got some dray loads of gravel out of the creeks over there, and then we got the screen going, and we screened a lot of the gravel and got all the big stones out of it, right down to the gravel, and then we made concrete and put the bottoms in the vats. Took 3 weeks. We did to put in, get 2 vats in, get them soldered up and leveled, and put the concrete bottoms in it, and get them tied up and all the rest of it, and then the ballast in the bottom, and the big stones right on the concrete, and then we put hessian or bags over the top of it, and covered that with about that thickness of pure creek gravel, real stuff. And watered that down a bit, and then we got the dray going, and we got 20 loads of, about 20 loads of slum and sand and all mixed up and put in the vats, and they started their treatment. So they treated, I don't know, there's 2 or 4. It took 72 hours to treat that with the what they call the liquor, the cyanide mixture in it. And then they'd have to put pure water over the top of that, soak that down, and wash all that out. All that would be washed out with pure water down into the sump. And anyway, they finally had a bit of clean up. They cleaned up the zinc box and way went over the Tarnagala and over to they had a furnace over there, of course, smelter. He came back the next day and righto, he said, we're right. He said, it's all right. So he said, I go to Maribor tomorrow and I go to the Nolly tomorrow and sell a bit of gold. He said, we'll square up. And that's that. But he said to me, when we finished putting it in there, you hold on. I said, nothing. I haven't got a razoo, not 2 bob. Well, he said, I'm bad broke too. He said, but I got a quid here. He said, I'll give you 10 bob of it. He gave me 10 bob of it. We went to Nolly and a couple of beers. And he never looked back. We built it up again. We put another 3 vats in. We had 5 there. That was 100 ton a week we was trading. 100 ton of slum and sand. And it kept on going through the years, and gold was about £6.10 or something like that an ounce then, and wages of 10 bob a day. And when he finished, when the war stopped us in about 41 or 43, wages are still 10 or 11 bob a day, and the coal had gone up to 10 quid. That's what he was getting.
How did the war stop you?
Well, we getting most of that stuff. Most of the cyanide comes from Germany. As a matter of fact, they lost 1 shipload down off the coast, off the Victorian coast down there. 1 shipload of cyanide, submarine sanker down there. Down off Sale there somewhere. Oh, anyhow, she'd about petered out. There wasn't much left. There wasn't much tailors left, and we cleaned them out pretty good.
So that stuff.
Pretty thorough.
What was that stuff that you were working? The slum. What is slum?
Slum? Well, it goes through the battery. See, I'm talking about the battery and quartz, but you don't get quartz without a lot of slate on it. Well, that slate's gold bearing when the quartz is, and that's all fine stuff in the slate. And slate, when it's crushed through the battery, it doesn't go into sand because it's not quartz, it's not sand, it's slate, it's slum. Well, of course, slum, well, it gets that tight together that the water won't go through it. It won't what they call leach. But we're lucky enough down there to be able to mix a lot, to keep the sand mixed with it all the time. We never had any trouble with the leach, and it's just be quick and lively. But in the deeper vat, it wouldn't have worked. In the deep vat, it wouldn't have worked properly.
So the stuff that you were working, had that already been worked before with cyanide? No, it hadn't.
No, it hadn't. No, that was virgin.
And the place where you're working at, that hole that's still in the ground in there, that was the box.
That was the sump.
The sump.
That's where all the drainings from the vats went into after going through the zinc box.
Tell me that story about when you're coming home with the. You think you might have got a dose of the cyanide.
Oh well, that was one of the way up further. It was a real hot sort of a day, and we got the vat loaded. There was a couple of boys there with a couple of the men with me. We loaded the vat about the middle of the day. It was pretty warm. And I slung 15 pound of soda cyanide in front of the tap and pumping the water on it, pumped about 2 or 3 gallons of water on it, dissolved it all, and the vat was chock-a-block right up to the top. And it was pretty deadly stuff, you can guess. One sip and would have killed anything. Of course, this straw apple there, it blew into the vat. And something, and I just dragged it out like that, shook it a little like that, and put it on. Well, I shut the engine off, and away I went for home. And I was sweating. My God, I got nearly home, and the world was spinning around, and trees. And then I kept staggering on and got in the back door. The world was spinning a bit, but I could still see a little bit. And I said to Annie, get some water, and she gave me some water, and I sat there for a while and got it down, and just a few minutes and I was right as rain again, clear as anything. Whether it was a cyanide or whether I had some sort of a seizure, I don't know, I'll never know. But it wasn't too good for a while.
Did you know of many other people working the cyanide that died or got sick?
Oh, well, yes, there was a few went west, but they actually got it in their mouth. That's fatal, of course. It's not a blood poison, cyanide. But when we get tore about over there, we wash our hands in the cyanide. We wash and then of course go straight away and wash it in fresh water. But in a few days it start to heal. Cyanide sort of cleaned up the wound. If there's any pus or anything, any dirt or anything in it cleaned it up quick and lively.
Was there much smell working with it?
No, there's no smell. The soda cyanide, none. But the hell of a smell with the calcium cyanide. It's just like carbide. And fumes.
Poisonous fumes?
Well, they would be, yeah. If you got them inside, if you got caught inside of them, they would be. They'd down you.
What sort of containers did the cyanide come in?
Drums, not a bit. 16 gallon drums, little round ones with a tight fitting lid, little round lid, a tight fitting lid about 10 inches in diameter, like treacle tin lid, just like a treacle tin. Only, of course, heavy metal, and it was old 16 gallons of water.
And how much cyanide would you use for a vat?
15 pound. That was to sweeten up the existing charge. That wouldn't be the total. 15 pound wouldn't be the total strength. See, that was all that 15 pounds was put on already charged liquor, as they called it. And that was the final. It was real lethal, that one.
So you
like I said, I seen a mouse jump in there one day, in one of those vats, and he swam from here to the fair there, and he's gone. Just swimming.
So when you wash the liquid through to the box, the sump, did you actually recover it at that stage? You pumped it back again? Why didn't the cyanide go? Why didn't it drain away?
It was in the sump.
So you pumped it back again?
Yeah.
So you kept reusing it?
Yeah. Yeah, I kept for 3 days. I'd pumped that I'd pump that vat at midday. Well, that night I'd go up and turn it on. Leave it there for 5 or 6 hours soaking, and then turn it on and run through the zinc box. Well, by the morning it'd be all gone. It'd be drained out. Then I'd go over and pump another lot, fill the vat up again with that cyanide in the sump. Do that for 3 days, and then from then on, you had to pump fresh water on top of it.
So what happened to the cyanide water at that stage? You just drain it, or you keep it?
Keep it.
Keep it in the sump.
Yeah, you had to keep it. You had to keep up that. You had to pump enough fresh water to wash those vats out to keep your level in the sump.
Ah.
So you'd have enough to work on. You had to keep it 2 charges in that sump all the time.
And you just keep putting more in to make up for the stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Building it up all the time. If you didn't have enough to pump on it, well, you wasn't treating your vats properly.
And just to finish up with, just tell me about the relation of yours that was involved with the Burke and Wills expedition.
Oh, that was Mum's brother, her uncle, Ted Roberts, Edward Roberts, his name was. The mother's name was Sarah Roberts. She came from way up somewhere, up in Devil's River or somewhere up there, but they settled over there. That's where Mum was born, over the other side of Tarnagalla there. But in 1860, when old Burke and Wills left Melbourne and come up, they crossed the river just down below, a couple of miles down from where Mum family lived, at Newbury. And they wanted men there, so he went with them. And they never heard any more. They never heard that because they didn't worry about it till Mum grew up. And she started making inquiries. Couldn't find nothing. I read a little bit in the book. There's a bloke called, I forget his name. He was going to do a little bit of inquiring about things. I never heard any more about that. But they never, ever heard any more of Ted Roberts.
No letters.
Nothing. Whether he deserted them somewhere up along or whether he perished, or whether the niggers got him, but he certainly didn't get to the Gulf. Well, there was 4 got to the Gulf, wasn't there? Burke and Wills, and King and Gray. We all had to know what things start anyhow. Burke didn't know anything. The wrong man led that expedition. Well, hey, they shouldn't have perished.
Obviously, he was a policeman, wasn't he?
Yeah.